Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning in to the first live stream here on the official Joshua Earp YouTube channel. Today, we're going to be talking about the short-term, immediate results of the Bitcoin price, and we're also going to have Naeem share his thoughts of what's going on, which he's the one that originally taught me technical analysis and pretty much everything I know, and he taught me how to, basically ride the bike, and then after that, I took the training wheels off, and next thing you know, I was driving a brand new Corvette, right? Remember that car, don't you, Naeem?
That was a nice one, the
Yeah.
Z06.
But sometimes you got to sell your assets to buy more Bitcoin. And today we're going to talk about if it's time to sell everything we own and buy more Bitcoin. No, but all seriousness, guys, this is not financial advice. I'm actually going to pull up the YouTube comments while we got this as well. So let's go ahead and do that. And actually, I'll tell you what, I got, let's see real quick. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into this, guys. So essentially, every time that we've ever hit this yellow line, besides March 2020, we have been at a bottom. And whenever you reach an inflection point, you immediately turn back around. So what's interesting here is that we were able to hit this line and immediately turn back around, and now look at what we're doing. We're pamping, which is Naeem and I's slang word for we pumping. We ain't pumping, we're pamping right now. But we are also getting rejected, and we're going to talk about that. So we just had a daily candle, and with this daily candle, we have a little bit of bullish sentiment. Okay, so I want to show you guys on the daily and show you what we're looking at here. And we'll talk about what these lines are and what they mean and everything like that. So, as Naeem has brilliantly discovered with this parallel channel, we are really at an inflection point right now. This is make it or break it for Bitcoin, guys. I mean, we pamped all the way up to this top spider line, which, by the way, these lines go all the way back to 2000, really the beginning of 2018, very beginning. But we had a rejection, and we have two daily red candles right here. Now, if you look back in time, anytime we've ever had two daily red candles, especially that were wicky like this, as you can see all these wicks right here, look at these two wicky red candles, and look how wicky these were. Anytime we've ever had two candles that are red, that have wicked like this, it has always indicated a local top while we've been trading within this parallel diagonal channel. Okay, this is very important technical analysis. Now, this is on the daily, so we just had a daily open. That's what I'm looking at. These two lines right here, these are very critical. Okay, so not only if we break above the top, let's go ahead and draw this out real quick. If we were to break above the top of the channel right here, that would indicate, as long as we were to retest it as support and continue to the upside, that would indicate that, the bulls are going to win. However, if we come down here and we break below this very critical level, which, ironically enough, Naeem has also identified as well on his chart. It's so funny because we have very similar analysis. And everybody, all the traders are looking at the same thing, so that's why you can kind of, see this stuff. But the interesting thing is, that is when we're going to see a lot of further downside. Now, I believe. Now, I'm not a fortune teller, and I don't, predict the future. But my prediction is that we could potentially, once we break this to the downside, we could see a lot further downside ahead, and that's what these two lines are built out right here to show and forecast the future of what could be possible. Because one thing to also note right here, actually, before we get too deep, is that this diagonal red line you're seeing, this right here, actually right there, let me just transfer over here. It's very important. We broke to the upside, and that's why we saw that extra bullish movement, because look at how, according to GAN technical analysis, I mean, look at how long that's been a line of resistance. It's been a long time. And we've had a breakout above it, at least on the Bitstamp chart. You got to really be careful, because Binance will show fake volume. Naeem is, by the way, is going to speak here in a second and tell you about that. But the interesting thing that I'm personally looking for is I think there's going to be some further downside, because not just because of how wiki we are and the two red candles and what's happened in this channel previously, but it's just we're very overbought in my opinion, guys, and we're testing the top of the channel as resistance on the daily, and so that tells me that there could be, once again, the markets do whatever or not what we want, but they do whatever they want, and we just kind of have to react to it. So this is what I'm looking at, guys. I will be looking to open up a short around this area. I've actually already shorted this top spider line, but I'm gonna be looking at re-entering around this area, and I may or may not take out a long if we break to the upside. It's just there's just not enough risk-reward ratio for me at that point, unless we see volume start to support that. By the way, go ahead and drop any information, anything you'd like to talk about. If you want us to analyze a certain asset or altcoin, etc., feel free to let us know. And we're going to be handing things over to Naeem in a second. But I just wanted to cover one last thing, and that is the good old DXY. Okay, so on the monthly, if you zoom all the way out, right around this white horizontal line, that's where the DXY's price is currently. It's a little hard to see with the way I have my chart, but you'll see why I have it this way. But just so you know, that's where the price is, this white horizontal line. I mean, we are in price discovery within the DXY. And we could potentially be coming all the way back up to 12,000, or sorry, not 12,000, 122.36. It's a very real possibility, and it's in the cards, and the momentum, as we were going to show, is going in that direction. And if we don't see resistance at this very specific key area, then that means that the next resistance is going to be all the way up here, which would probably, if the DXY were to pump all the way up here, I would say that would put Bitcoin at around, $3,000 to $5,000, and that's just a mental estimate. But as the DXY goes up, Bitcoin goes down, so and all assets go down, by the way. So it's just one of those things you want to keep an eye on, because it's a very real possibility. It's a very, very real possibility. Now, that's on the monthly. Let's go check out the daily. Okay, there's also some Gann technical analysis here on the daily time frame, which is also a pretty high time frame. It's not the monthly, of course, but as you can see, we have the Gann fan, Gann, which is an individual that would use astronomy and astrology and ancient mathematics and things of that nature to predict the forecast of financial markets. Very interesting individual, to say the least. What did Naeem, what did JP Morgan say? I think he said, if you want to be a millionaire, you need a business consultant. But if you want to be a billionaire, you need an astrologist, right? So these are the levels we're looking at with Gann. And I'm going to turn it over to Naeem, because like I said, he's really the true expert here, which, by the way, link in the description of this video. If you're live or even if you're watching the replay, don't forget to subscribe to Naeem's channel. Like I said, he taught me pretty much everything I know, and he's an amazing mentor. Definitely need to follow him, subscribe, hit the bell notification, set it to all, because you do not want to miss any of the updates that he does. And also check out his trade signal service in the link in the description below. So now that we have that out of the way, and before I turn it over to Naeem, this is really just what I'm looking at. I mean, what I'm looking at is very simple. It's the daily Gann technical analysis fan, and what we've seen is we had a very critical line of resistance right here that we broke to the upside of and tested this critical level as support, and now, guess what? The DXY is pamping. Give us a hashtag pamping in the comments below if you want to see, well, actually, you probably don't want to see the DXY start pumping, because that means that Bitcoin's going down. But the thing is, if you're in a short, it's not so bad of an idea, right? Even though we're Bitcoin bulls on this channel, we do take advantage of short-term price fluctuations, but looking algorithmically and also logarithmically, we'll see that that's going up. So that's what I'm looking at. And as we see this test of the support, if this were to come back up to the weekly open or even up here, then we would be also back in business, as far as that price discovery on the DXY goes. So now let me stop sharing, and I'll go ahead and turn it over to Naeem.
Thank you so much, Josh. You crushed it, and it's very clear that we are facing a major resistance level right now. And if we look at this $24,300 level, the reason this level is so significant right now is because we have to go back to when Bitcoin broke into price discovery for the first time in late December of 2020. And this was the first area of resistance Bitcoin found, and it allowed Bitcoin to have a little bit of a pit stop here for about a week before we broke out from this range to the $35,000 level. So we know that getting above 24,300 could really open up the door to a more bullish scenario and a potential push back to 30,000 US dollars. And what I find interesting about that scenario is if we were to break 24,300, we could certainly look at some other puzzle pieces, because if we look at this consolidation range, it pretty much ended here around the 12th of June. And if we go into the NASDAQ, what you'll notice is this is where the NASDAQ was consolidating here around the 12th of June. And the NASDAQ has already reclaimed this consolidation zone. And so the NASDAQ looks like it's broken out of the downwards momentum. And if we were to just say that Bitcoin were to follow the NASDAQ and market structure, we could say that it's already justified for Bitcoin to be up around the $30,000 level. So I'm not saying that we're not going to find resistance here, but what I am saying is that we're facing a very important level. This isn't just another, push to the upside like what we saw over the last few weeks back down in this range where we came back below 20,000. This is an actual attempt right now to break out of the bearish consolidation. So I think that the biggest thing for Bitcoin right now is to realize that, it's facing a major area of resistance. Garden variety market behavior says that a major resistance will, at least on the first attempt, not allow you to breach through, but maybe later down the road we could come back here, and then that would be a more appropriate time for Bitcoin to break through. And so that means that 20,000 is certainly still on the table from where we're currently at to form another higher low. And so it's really Bitcoin's decision now on whether or not it really wants to break out of this consolidation, or if it's going to slow down time and continue to move sideways. And I think that that's really clearly depicted in this channel that you also mentioned, Josh. Thank you for mentioning this channel resistance. We were looking at this from the start, and you can see right now where we're finding resistance is the channel resistance. That's the significant level in the immediate short term. So I think you mentioned this as well, 23,500. As long as we stay below 23,500, we could say that the momentum is slowing down and that we could potentially start seeing some downside. And there's another confirmation that momentum is slowing down right now, and this is a bearish puzzle piece, and that's the fact that notice how Bitcoin has two red daily candles that have closed over the last 48 hours, and if we go into the S&P 500, it's quite the opposite. We have two green candles, so we're slowing down already against the S&P 500, and so that tells me momentum is slowing down. We're finding that push from the bears at that $24,300 level. They don't want to yet get above that level. And so I think that this could be a potential area of taking maybe some short-term, I'd say short positions, at least to entertain them. And, really the opportunity already came, like you said, Josh, around that $24,000 level. What we're seeing right now is not surprising to anybody that have tuned into Josh and I's analysis over the last few weeks, because this has always been the range resistance. We just never tested it. So 24,300 was always our first upside target ever since Bitcoin came back above 20,000 and held this higher low around 18,600. We knew what we were looking for. We were looking for that test of 24,000, and that's what we've got now. So I think that we're at a very important time where Bitcoin needs to make a decision, and the puzzle pieces couldn't be as undecided as they are right now, because momentum is slowing down as Bitcoin faces this resistance. And now we're starting to see fundamentals, right? Narratives that they're always going to attach to the price action come out, like Elon Musk sold his Bitcoin. So now we could say, oh, ever since Elon Musk announced that he sold his Bitcoin, we have only seen downside, right? So that's the bearish case, I think, and that's the narrative that they're probably going to attach to this bearish case. And so another very clear indicator of us facing resistance right now is in the Bollinger Bands. What you'll notice here is, unlike what happened in this initial consolidation at 30,000, where we formed this lower high and then we continued downwards, right now we're actually breaking out from the Bollinger Band resistance. So we're breaking out of the channel resistance and we're breaking out of the Bollinger Band resistance to test a major resistance. That's the simplest way to put what Bitcoin is doing right now. And so it has to make a decision. It either finds resistance here and continues to move sideways. And I think that confirmation comes at 22,000. So 22,000 to me would be the confirmation that we could potentially see the monthly open get tested at 20,000, because that would break the Bollinger Band previous resistance, which is now support, and we're already below the channel resistance. So, I think that that's the clearest picture that I have for Bitcoin. And I'll just mention some four-dimensional parts here. The Ethereum to Bitcoin chart has also found major resistance at 70,000 Satoshis. Ethereum against US dollar also facing a major channel resistance, where in the past, when it's faced these major channel resistance levels during this bear market, we've seen Ethereum slow down, and we've seen the Ethereum to Bitcoin chart actually sell off when we've reached this resistance. And so everything is approaching its major resistance. I think that's the clearest case. But, if you're in a short position, 24,300 is a strong level. As long as you have your stop loss there, I think you'll be fine. If you don't have your stop loss there, the potential upside target puts us at the CME gap at 28,740, and that makes sense. I think that this is certainly a scenario we have to keep in mind, because the NASDAQ is already inside of this consolidation again. So if Bitcoin were to just do what the NASDAQ has done, it would already be here. But it's not. So it's still showing signs of weakness against equity markets. That's the bearish case. And it's starting to even slow down in the immediate short term over the last 48 hours against the S&P 500. And it's already tested its major resistance. So, so momentum is coming down, and we're tighter than ever, right? So this area here at 22,000 to 24,000, it's really a tight place for Bitcoin. A lot tighter than the initial consolidation that took us to 17,600 all the way up to 22,000. That was a very large range. Now we're really starting to get tightened up. So, over the next few days, what I would expect is if 22,000 gets tested and doesn't hold and equity markets start to pull back, we might see some sort of price action like this. But let's say we break above 23,500 over the next few days, we come back up to test 24,300, and I think we could potentially see something along the lines of this type of price action, where maybe eventually we come back to test 24,295. For the downside scenario, I would look for long positions down around that monthly open at 20,000, because I think that even if we see a downside scenario, we might still do something like this. I certainly don't see anything like this just yet. I don't think that that's justified right now. I think we need more time to tell where things want to go. An area of interest for me is the 26th of July, like right around this area here, where the interest rate hikes are going to be announced. And I certainly don't see a scenario like this just yet to take us to 35,000. But I could see a scenario of us doing something like this. I think that this is like the most extreme bullish scenario right now. If we can get above 24,300, come back to this consolidation. And the reason I say this is on the table is because it would just copy what the NASDAQ has done. But let's see. I mean, the bears, they have their narrative here, right? Elon Musk sold all of his Bitcoin, or 75% of his holdings. And ever since then, we've only seen sell-off. And the Bitcoin against Tesla chart isn't looking too good in the immediate short term as well. If we look at Bitcoin against Tesla, you'll notice here we were trying to break out, and now we've gotten rejected right back down after that news. And so, what I'm looking at right now is whether Bitcoin against SPY is going to follow this, because it's actually finding resistance at the 50-day moving average. And Bitcoin right now against the US dollar pairing is above its 50-day moving average. So I think that it's important to know right now that Bitcoin is slowing down against the S&P 500. And so, there's either the scenario now that we come to form a higher high, so in the immediate short term, if we just pull up like a 4-hour chart, I think that there certainly is, this scenario right now on the table for us to come up, maybe form a higher high here, and that would make things a little bit more bullish to where, we could see that push to the upside. But for the downside at this point, I think what we'll see is something along the lines of this to 22,000. I think you have a spider line there as well, Josh. And this would be the weaker scenario that assumes that we come down and see that low.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm monitoring: 23,500 in the immediate short term, and the $22,000 level. Those are my two earliest confirmations in terms of support and resistance. But that's it on my side.
Wow, that's awesome.
Thank you, man.
If you guys have any questions, just let us know. I'm gonna share a few of my thoughts as well. But real quick, would you mind pulling up that Ethereum chart one last time?
Yeah,
I think you were,
absolutely.
because you pulled that up earlier, right? So can you zoom out a little? Like, look at that descending parallel channel. It looks like we broke to the upside of that on Ethereum.
Oh yeah.
So if we broke to the upside of that, and if we test that again as support, then I mean that could be potentially very bullish for Ethereum, right?
Yeah, look at that. It's a very clear breakout.
Wow.
I mean, this is an exact breakout. I mean, however you draw
it already did test it as support. Look at that, 4 times.
We'll put it on a line chart. Let's see how it looks on a line chart. So on the line chart, yeah, we broke out on the line chart. We can even go into like the 6-hour time frame on the.
Wow. So
it's just 2 candles. Yeah, I mean, it looks like any way you draw it. Oh well, maybe on the 6-hour, but I would say this high is the most significant. Yeah, so Ethereum is breaking out, but and it's holding above the previous resistance. No matter how you draw that, it's
wow.
I would consider this a bullish flag, right? Like one impulse, then another.
Wow.
But in the past, we've seen this happen in the past where Ethereum, it looks like it's ready for a breakout, right? And then it just ends up slowing down and momentum just dies away. So I think, this is important to keep in mind here is after a channel breakout, this could happen, right? And so if that happens right now, that assumes that we flirt with the previous all-time high at 1440, come below it, above it, we just feel some volume there, right? So,
wow.
So this could certainly happen here, right, where we do something like that. So, I think we're at an inflection point. I think that for Ethereum, 1440 is important. That's the 2018 previous all-time high, showing confluence with the immediate short-term market structural support. And then we have 1760 as the major resistance.
Wow. So how crazy would it be if Ethereum just kept on pumping and, Bitcoin dumps? I mean, that would prove some of the other analysts' theories correct, which is that Ethereum is going to eventually, flip Bitcoin. And by the way, Charles Hoskinson, co-founder of Ethereum, and Cardano, is also a very close friend of Naeem and I's. And if you want to check out the video on Naeem's channel, make sure to subscribe below to his channel so you can watch also that interview with Charles Hoskinson. It was a great interview. And but that would be crazy. I mean, like, you've heard that too, right, Naeem? That Ethereum's going to flip Bitcoin eventually. What if this was finally what it took? Now, here's what I think. I think Bitcoin's going to come back up long term no matter what. I just think there's going to be some potential short-term downside, as always, right? Nothing ever goes straight up and straight down. But I thought that was incredibly interesting, that Bitcoin is going down right now and Ethereum is going up. Usually they're correlated, and usually same thing with the S&P 500, which, usually goes up, Bitcoin goes up. It's all, correlated with the DXY as well. So it's very, very weird right now that Bitcoin is not. I mean, I guess you could still say, that it's bullish. I mean, look at it. We're still above the, if we were to draw a horizontal channel, not diagonally, we would have, we could be potentially still bullish on Bitcoin. I mean, look at that. I mean, sure, it's testing that as resistance now, but I mean, it could be the start of something. Naeem and I were talking about this today. It's like the way we're gonna know for sure if it's a relief rally or if it's a true beginning of a bull market. The only way that we'll be able to know is based off of time. Holy cow! Look at that. I remember when that new moon first started, and I was like, oh damn, man, you gotta go long. So what this is telling us though is that we could be on our descent, right? But also we could keep pumping because there's still more time for the new moon to play out. So I guess that's why you need an astrologist to be a billionaire. We're looking at the moon, you know. But please continue.
Yeah, I think it's an inflection point for Bitcoin and tech in general. If we look at the NASDAQ, it's clear that we're trying to either come out of this bear market or this is just going to be another relief rally. So I think, once again, 23,500 is very important in the immediate short term. And I think 22,000 is also extremely important. So those are the two biggest levels that I'm currently monitoring for Bitcoin to determine this next push. But it's like you said, Josh, this is the resistance level that we've never tested. So this is the first test of this resistance. I'm 100% sure there are some people shorting this area here and hoping for some further downside here to potentially even come down to test that monthly open at 20K again. So, that would just put us back to the midpoint of this range.
Yeah.
And this is going to be a big range for Bitcoin to conquer. So if we get above 24,300, that's a huge win for the bulls. And we can certainly talk about a potential short-term bottom here at 17.6.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, let's take some questions, because I'm sure some people have questions about your expert technical analysis. One guy says, what are your opinions on BNB? I currently am in a few BNB DeFi projects, and I like that it's held up better than most altcoins this bear market. Obviously, it depends how ETH and BTC perform, but yeah. So, what do you? I could show my chart also on BNB, but before that, I want to get your thoughts, Naeem. What do you? Because here's the thing: no one's been using Binance. I mean, Naeem and I were just at the Binance party actually in Consensus in Austin, and with Elon Musk's brother and Charlie Shrem. And who else was there? There's just so many crazy people there that are awesome. That are part of the community.
Yeah.
And but the thing is, though, no one's been using Binance longer than Naeem. I mean, he's been on YouTube crypto for like, I don't even know, 6 years. And he's always used Binance, even when we had a penthouse together in Hollywood years ago. I would always see him using Binance. So I would love your opinion. I'll go ahead and share my chart afterwards on BNB, but I would love to know your opinion. And so would Mr. Ryan Boyette.
Yeah, well, if we look at BNB against Bitcoin, which is a lot more important than the US dollar pairing, what we're seeing right now is we're testing this previous area of resistance that we've seen the Binance coin get rejected.
Oh, wow.
So,
triple top.
So I would certainly say from that higher high that Bitcoin formed in the summer of 2021, this is the furthest that the BNB coin was able to go. And then it looks like we ended up forming a lower high. We can call that a double top. And so whether it's a lower high or a double top, both of those indicating that there was weakness on that second move. So for this third move, and it's tested this major resistance, I'd say that you'd want to wait for confirmation of a break of this lower high here. And if we do get a confirmation, then that could indicate that maybe this is turning into something like this, where we have this symmetrical triangle. That we could be seeing a actual transition here, where Binance coin sees some abnormal strength in comparison to Bitcoin. So the candle high I'd be watching is 12175 Satoshis. I think that's extremely important here. And so we're right there, within a few percentage points here, that would be what I'd watch for a potential breakout confirmation. But until then, you'd want to be careful going long at a resistance and at the top of a range, right? Because, the time to go long is when we're not at the resistance and we're closer to the support level. So that's my opinion on the Binance coin against the BNB or against BTC, which that's going to drive the US dollar price. So, yeah, Do you have the
Wow.
Binance mapped out on your?
Yeah, I do actually. I've had
Let's
it
look at
mapped
it.
out for a long time. You know me, man. I'm an original sniper from back in the day. I got into Bitcoin around 2014, 15 or so, and I just was a hodler. But it was Naeem that showed me the power of trading and technical analysis. So let's go ahead and check out BNB as well, real quick. Share screen. All right. So the whole thing is, guys, is let's go look at BNB. I haven't even looked at it in a long time. So let's see what's going on with it. Let's look at the 12 hourly. Well, actually, let's do this. Let's look at the weekly. Let's see what's going on with it. So yeah, I mean, we already had these levels already mapped out. So it's interesting to see how it respects the TA. So yeah, horizontally, right, is what I'd be looking at right now. And I would say that, on the weekly we have, in fact, let's do this. I'm gonna channel my inner Naeem al-Obaidi right here and put on these amazing moving averages, which, by the way, is a brilliant thing to do. A lot of times I forget to do that. And I often wonder how much more successful I'd be if I remembered. But this is what I see with BNB right now. Obviously we've bottomed around here at around 202, only a wick on the weekly. And we're wicking above. It really, for me, it just depends on the way this weekly candle closes. Because if we end up having a weekly candle close that's above this very critical horizontal line at 260, then that could indicate potential further downside. But I think that, for the most bullish scenario in the short term, I would say, the weekly, so this would be 50, 100, 200, right? So this would be the 100-day moving average. So I would say that, in the most bullish scenario, we would want to, test this is at least as resistance, which would put us up around 311. But yeah, it definitely seems to me, it appears to me that BNB could have possibly bottomed out, but you got to be careful. You got to be careful because, something that could have happened is, we came down here, right? We could come back up here, test the moving average or this other critical support line, and we could come back, retest, go even higher, or what I think could be a very big possibility, and I hate to say this, but probably the more likely possibility, depending on how things go, but we could come up here and then just start, going down even further. So it's always respected these horizontal lines. It's never not respected it, as you can see, obviously. So these are the key levels that I would be looking at, and I would just be preparing for the worst. It's like not even preparing for the worst, but also for the best. Because if I were like hodling the long term right now with this, then I would wait for it to cool down a little bit, and I would consider maybe going long around 203 or so. That's where I would go long right now. The monthly open, basically. I would go long at the monthly open. But you want to be careful. Naeem and I were talking about this today. You don't want to just set limit orders. I mean, you can, right? But for me, you could buy the dip and it just keeps on dipping, right? So I think BNB is going to be heavily impacted by the Bitcoin price, and I think that it's going to be heavily impacted by the DXY. And we're starting to pump right now on the DXY. So that's why I think we're seeing this this wick right here. So as the DXY keeps going up, we're gonna see that. Let's see what else we got here. Let's see. Can you check out BNB and XTZ? Yeah, I'm not a big XTZ fan at all whatsoever. It's not that there's really anything wrong with it, but I've never really been a fan. It's like the powers that be are waiting on something. Skoda says. I would have expected a more reactive breakout. Exactly, and that kind of, it's just the way the DXY right now on the weekly is bouncing off of this very critical level. It really says a lot, and so I think as we continue to see bullishness on the DXY, which, by the way, now that I'm looking at this daily, we may not see much more bullishness on the DXY. I mean, this is looking like, it could be it's just making lower highs, lower highs, lower highs. So we just have to look horizontally. That's where a lot of people go wrong is they're not looking horizontally. Um, so the other thing too, let's take a look at Ethereum compared to USD. I just want to see what's going on with that because that is crazy. That is crazy. How we're pumping on Ethereum, but we're not. But also Ethereum could be losing steam as well. Look at this daily. On the daily, it's really struggling right now to get ahead of these critical levels. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. If you guys have any requests for other altcoins, let me know. I have a lot of them mapped out. But right now, the Bitcoin price. For the Bitcoin price, we have this right here. Oh, daily candle just turned red. Okay, so this is what I personally think is going to happen. I think that we're just going to see further downside, and I'm not a bear. You're hearing this straight out of the bull's mouth. I'm not a bear. I would tell you if I was. I just think that you just want to always be market neutral and you want to react to the market, and that's what I think. So we'll see what happens. We're going to continue to monitor this. This is exactly what I'm planning on and what I think is going to happen. And with all that being said, Naeem, do you have anything else you want to say?
Well, I'll say that Bitcoin's facing a major resistance at an inflection point, and that we're going to continue to monitor 23,500 and 22,000. I think those are the major levels to watch right now. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I think we'll get more answers as the interest rates get raised and we see the market's reaction. But the bears have a case to make, and they have a narrative now with Elon Musk and Tesla selling 75% of their position. We've only seen downside since, so let's see.
100%. Yeah, here's the other thing. Look at ADA. Speaking of Charles, right? Which, by the way, great guy. Was just hanging out with him, a couple of weeks ago. When was consensus? What was that? A month ago? A couple of months ago? I lose track of time. All I care about is technical analysis, guys. I don't keep track of time. No, but this could very well. This looks like and I'm not saying this just about Cardano, which is what we're looking at right now, but I'm just saying it in general. It just seems like it's a sucker's rally. I hate to say that for everyone going long, but that's what it seems like to me. That's what it seems like to me. Let's go look at Solana. I just want to look at a few of these really now. I don't even really care about most of these altcoins. I just want to check them out real quick. Might as well. Yeah, so I don't know, man. I don't know. It's going to be hard to tell. Let's go look at DOT. It's hard to tell, man. So all I know is I'm going to keep my eye on Bitcoin. Skoda says it looks like it wants to go sideways for 12 months. Absolutely. That's the way it appears. I wish there was a sideways button. There's only long or short. You can't hit sideways, unfortunately. But everybody, we're going to end this live stream. This is our first live stream. We're going to start doing them more often. Don't forget to subscribe to Naeem al-Obaidi's Sniper's YouTube channel, one of the oldest and best channels on the internet. And yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will see you guys soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh.